Martin North, John Adams, in the interest of the people. Hi, John.
Hi, mate.
So we've been running this channel for a few months now.
Yep.
And what we want to do is to press the accelerator on the channel.
Yes.
So there are a few things we want to discuss today in terms of how our audience can help us to do that.
Yes. And the reason why that's important, Martin, is that I feel that the risk in the system is actually getting a lot bigger. We're seeing a whole bunch of very bad signs on the international front. You know, you look at the inversion of the yield curve in terms of the US. You look at what's happening with the Deutsche Bank share price. The Chinese, they nationalized one of their banks last week. So a lot of ugly things happening in the international financial markets. And we need to hopefully get the message out to more Australians before the crisis that I think is coming actually arrives.
Yeah, so you could say that the cracks are beginning to spread and the, more concern internationally. The IMF's most recent financial stability report was even more negative than last time. So there's a lot of stuff internationally. Of course, locally, we seem to be in a slightly different scenario at the moment, but that's another story, right?
That's another story, yes.
Yeah, okay. So the question is, what can people do? Well, the first one, of course, people can subscribe. We really want people to subscribe to the Interest of the People channel on YouTube.
Yep.
So it's what we've noticed that quite a few people will come, watch our videos, but don't necessarily subscribe. So please subscribe on YouTube, right? The first point. The second one is, if you want to get alerts for our future posts, you can also ring the bell. And that means that you get a direct alert every time we post something. And we try to post 2 to 3 to 4 times a month. And so there'll always be stuff coming up on the channel. So that's quite important. So that's the first thing that people do. Very simple, very straightforward, but we would appreciate if people did actually subscribe to the channel.
Yep.
Okay, then let's talk about social media, right? Because essentially we are also putting out the shows through the social media channels, particularly Twitter, LinkedIn.
Yep.
And John, I know that you've been quite active on Twitter recently.
Yeah.
Some would say overactive, but I wouldn't possibly comment.
Sure. So what I like to do with these shows is have a more considered conversation. But when I see some very alarming things in the press, I tend to put out tweets just so I can update the people following me in real time as to here is the latest piece of sensational economic news, and people should be aware of it. So and obviously I know you do some things as well. So to the extent that people want to follow us on Twitter or LinkedIn, and I'm on Facebook, and I know you're not on Facebook, but there are mechanisms in which people can follow us and get more regular updates.
Yeah, and I think that's quite important because sometimes the debate then continues in social media, for example.
Correct.
And that's actually quite important, and it's part of the dynamism of what's going on at the moment. So that's the second area.
And the point I would make on that is that we're starting to build a bit of a domestic but also international community of like-minded people talking about this. So so there's you and I, there's Edwin, there's Tony, there's Eddie Hobbs, a whole bunch of Robbie Barwick. So there's a whole bunch of people who continually have discussions with you, who we keep on having these online chats about data, about trends, about politics and economics. So if people want to be a part of that community and meet other people, like-minded people across the country, Twitter is a fantastic platform for that, as well as LinkedIn. Yeah,
and it gives a little bit of counterpointing to all the spruikers that are out there saying the market's bubbling, buy now. Well, what we're trying to do is to show that there's actually another point of view that's actually quite strong, and there are a lot of people committed to this other point of view, so that's quite important through the social media channel.
Yep.
Okay. And then, of course, you've got your own newsletter.
Yes.
And your own site, so you might want to talk about that for a second.
Sure. So one of the things I wanted to do last year was to have a central repository of all the things that I've ever done. So I created my own website, so I worked with a developer, and so adamseconomics.com, all of my articles that I've ever written on every subject from economics, politics, and a few other things. Every video that you and I have ever done, so we did about 35 shows last year. That's all on the website that people can go back and look at what we said last year. We've done about, I think, maybe 17, 18 episodes this year, so all of them are there. I've done videos with a whole bunch of other people across the world. All of my commentary is up there. And I have a subscriber list. So I have more than 1,000 people have signed up, and I do put out a newsletter when I think it's important to communicate something. And so I put one out this week. So if newsletters are free, anyone can subscribe, anyone can unsubscribe whenever they want, so no pressure. But if people want to get the latest insights about what I'm up to and some of the things that I'm involved in, but just to give you an example, I've had a lot of people come to me and say that they would like, they want financial advice from someone who's licensed to provide financial advice consistent with our broad philosophy, because a lot of the financial advisors don't have our level of knowledge or share our level of risk. So I have identified at least one licensed financial advisor who watches us consistently and who's working with clients across the country, consistent with our risk profile. So I've introduced this. Some of my subscribers to this individual, and I said, well, you two sort it out, but there are people looking for that type of financial advice, and so if people are looking for that, signing up to my newsletter, getting the updates, I can help sort of connect people with the right people in the industry.
Great, and we'll put that link in the comments below, right?
Yep.
And we'll also add the DFA link as well, because of course the Digital Finance Analytics site continues to function both on YouTube and also the DFA blog, where all my work is actually there too. So that's another angle. And I think the final point to make is that we actually also have mechanisms whereby people can support us, right?
Yeah.
More directly, financially. We've got a PayPal process and we've got a Patreon process. And we're going to look at a few others, I think, down the track to see whether we can extend the reach of that. That's quite important because there's a lot of time and effort involved in creating these shows. And, every dollar that we get from those support channels go back into making more shows.
Yep.
So, again, the links are below. And if you would like to support us one-off by PayPal or on a subscription basis via Patreon, that is also available. So we would appreciate that level of support. And I guess the last point to make is please retweet, reshare, and spread the word, right? Because we think this is really, really critical. We're at a very important inflection point in the economy, and people are going to get bruised and damaged ahead. So being forearmed and forewarned is really quite important, and that's what this is all about, in the interests of the people.
Absolutely.
John, thank you very much.
Thank you.